See if I can get this live stream started, and I'm hoping that it will actually work first time around, because I know in the past it has not. So I'm just gonna hang out for a second. I'll auto a roadmap for now while waiting, just to make sure that this stream is actually going live the way I want it to. Let's see, I'm gonna grab my link. Hey there. Hey, Captain Walker Slayer. Just going to hope that this live stream starts the way it should, and that as in the past, I know I've struggled to start these live streams, but here we go. I'm just gonna see if I can drop the link in some of my chats, just to let other people know that, I am live right now. In this video, we're going to start off by talking about Marlin and Rosie, the new S-Class toon that was dropped. Don't switch. Okay. So I'm going to drop this in my own chat at everyone. Yes. Live stream up. We'll be chatting about Marlon and Rosie. Hey Tiago, hey GBZ, hello Marcus. How are you doing in this Marlon and Rosie event? Okay, well, I am just kind of starting the Marlon and Rosie event because, let's see, how far along am I in raids? I'm still only at 1840. I need to max out my milestones at 2,400 to get that last 1,500 paw prints. Let's see. I've gotten, what is it? Is it 1,500 cards to start? Yeah, 1,500 cards to start. I'll soon have another 1,500 cards. This is actually pretty, nice with the amount of cards that you actually need. I know you need these leashes in order to upgrade, but to just get the cards to start, that's a pretty good... That's, actually really good in my opinion. Yes, subscribe and turn on notifications. GBZ, you are amazing, and I completely forget myself to do that, to ask people to do that. So still gonna wait around just a little longer, just to make sure that people can tune in. Let's see, I'm just gonna drop this in a couple chats. Just need to find the chats. Let's see. Live streaming now. Okay, this is actually not labeled Bell Let's Talk, but I guess it is all of a sudden. This is very confusing to me right now because I'm pretty sure I changed the name of this stream, but it's now telling me that I didn't, so guys, just bear with me on that. I don't know how to change it right now, but I will change it later. And managed to do it in 2 hours. That's awesome. So, now that I have some people tuning in, I'm going to give you guys my, synopsis on Marlin and Rosie. Okay, so we're going over to this new S-Class toon. I like the design quite a bit. I find it interesting that he's holding fish. It would have been a bit more a shock factor if he was holding a head or something, but more on that later. Hey Mama Deadhead, welcome to the chat. So guys, feel free to ask me questions in the discussion box or the chat box, comment box, whatever you want to call it, as we go through this, but I'm here to talk about this new toon, and to be honest, I don't understand why everyone's trashing him right away, because I completely see a use for him. So, he's different, he's unique, he's one of the only toons with this lightning reflexes specialist skill. So when this character is not stunned and is targeted by an adrenaline rush, they will immediately counterattack. So, what's unique about this is that I'm just going to go over to the trait section, status of specialist skill. And I'm just going to bring up lightning reflexes here because as far as I'm concerned, hold on, I need to find it. As far as I'm concerned, it's actually a really useful, ability. Because if they're targeted by a rush, in my opinion, this is like a cheap payback. because it doesn't matter about the threshold. It's any type of rush. So a rush that hits multiple targets, or in my head, I'm thinking about a toon that does multiple attacks on their rush. So if you get a toon like Priya or James, like, what would happen, right? Because those types of toons, James could stun if he has a stun weapon, but in Priya's case, like if she ends up targeting him, so lightning reflexes will work before he actually takes damage. So it's possible that he could end up killing a toon that's on offense with his lightning reflexes ability, so long as he's not stunned. So when we get a toon that can use a rush and attack multiple targets with their rush, well, you could end up negating that effect if his attack ends up killing that toon. And because offensive toons usually have less HP, less defense than defensive toons, you would have a fairly good chance, in my opinion. Like when we go back over to Marlin and Rosie, where'd he go? Right here. Although, like his attack stat, when he's maxed out as an S-class with rings, 4,727. He has high HP. His defense is, a bit lower, but honestly, I'm not looking so much at his rush, like 66 AP, and people saw the 300% damage and completely wrote him off. But he recovers from all penalties, which isn't good against trauma, but not a lot of people run trauma on attack. Trauma is more of a defensive trait, and he, to me, is a defensive toon. So he can recover from all penalties and then regains 50% of his max HP, which isn't bad because he's taking this attack, right? And he might be able to kill the offense. Next turn, he might be able to rush, heals himself, recovers, and you move on. Now, with his weapon here, so when attacking, a better chance to make a second attack with 200% attack. Think about how that works with lightning reflexes. So a better chance is about 35%. So if someone rushes him, so let's say Priya rushes him, doesn't kill him on the first attack. Well, even before that first attack of her rush, his lightning reflexes triggers. So he attacks once, right? With, say it's only like 4,000 attack, that's still a significant amount. But his weapon gives him a chance, so he might be able to attack her a second time with 200% of that damage. So to me, that's a pretty huge amount of damage that could occur. Like, I like the weapon. It's a bit of RNG, and in my opinion, RNG works well on defense because the attacker can't make adjustments as fast because they're expecting, a pattern in the defensive team. You can usually predict in the defensive team how a toon's going to act, but with Marlon and Rosie, you don't know because of this weapon. The same thing can be said, I think, with Krista on defense when she has a splash weapon. If she ends up splashing on the first turn, she can take out 1, 2, 3, 4 characters. Going back into some of the chat box. Paired with new Louie or Arav. Now, Arav I think can be paired with anyone, to be honest. Like, he's just such a big attacking toon. With Louie, you know what? I'll actually talk about him as well in this video because he's a new character that was released and Scopely made an error. So, GBZ, replace the double attack with stun. Yeah, that would be interesting if it procced with lightning reflexes as well. Like, if I ended up 5-starring this Violent Rosie, then it'd be interesting, actually. It'd be interesting to swap off and use stun. Like, would Rosie still attack even though you swapped it off? Like, I'm wondering about the animation, and that's just kind of how my head works, where I'm just curious with it. Yeah, I'll talk about the free Louie after this. OG 5-star Eugene's. Yes, I think I still have one, actually. Let me take a look quickly. Like, I don't know if there's another toon that has lightning reflexes other than Marlin and Rosie and Eugene, yeah, right here. So, I was actually running him on attack in 5-star arenas for a bit. His rush is really useful, that AP gain, he's very fast. He was actually a pretty good toon. I liked him a lot. Yes, this Keatsonatum, if he attacks a toon with lightning reflex, lightning rush, and hits the double attack with 200% bonus, it's gonna hurt. Like, I think I could use him on a defensive team 100%. it's going to help a lot, I think, against toons. Like when we look at Michelle, she can attack 2 characters, right? She stuns them, but if he has a stun resist and he's able to resist that, again, it's similar to Payback in a way, but it doesn't have a threshold. And like we're not exactly sure about how much damage he will give back, but like against an Arav, for example. Actually, that's a really interesting idea. So imagine if Arav ends up rushing Marlin and Rosie. So before Arav applies his damage, Marlon and Rosie has a chance to attack back with a basic attack, and then has a 35% chance at making a second attack with 200% attack. If Marlon and Rosie ends up killing Arav, which is possible because everyone decks him out with a ton of attack, would he survive? Now that's going to be something interesting to test, and I would love to see some film on that. I'm definitely going to try and get this toon, and when I get him, her, like the 2 of them, I am definitely going to try that out because I think it would be a very interesting experiment to do. Because if he's able to kill Arav, then it's basically a cheap way of having a payback toon without running a payback toon. This is the type of toon I could honestly run instead of payback on attack as well if I'm against a turn 1 rushing defense team, because again, that Arav rushes down a line. If I'm able to direct that, well, I have a chance of at least killing him without sustaining heavy damage. Like usually you'll lose your payback toon if Arav ends up rushing down that line. Like I guess I've shown you guys some of these in other videos before, but like, so my Arav here, he's not maxed out yet, but if he does 750% damage to a line of enemies and he's on defense and I have Marlon and Rosie with a human shield, he rushes that line. I think the human shield would still die, but Marlon and Rosie might be able to kill him, which would then prevent him from being commanded again. So this is actually a really interesting development in my head. Like at first I thought Marlon and Rosie would only be good. Sorry, wrong area. For a second I thought Marlon and Rosie would only be good in Onslaught, because you don't need, like, his active skill gives him 150% attack, right? I don't really care about the AP, but the extra attack on him, right? He buffs himself, and with this double attack weapon, he's very viable on attack and Onslaught, because he doesn't need to rush. His rush doesn't really do a lot for you, but his basic attacks could end up applying a huge amount of damage. Okay, just reading through some more of a chat because I know I'm behind. Hi, Tiago. Limited use, yes, but he still has some use. He'll go great. Yes, okay. Any green and red toon, in my opinion, will go great with Alice. Just because, like, I'm going to show you guys my Alice at the moment. But the lead skill is amazing. 40% attack and a huge bonus to AP 1 attacking. And then the rush is what really makes her, in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of her active skill, but 75% attack will make anyone beastly. So this is just this will be a really interesting experiment for me when I end up getting Marlon and Rosie. The weapon is with 50% of attack and a huge damage with double attack. Yes, it's a decent damage character for sure. What would a really strong team look like when you could choose between all toons? Okay, well, right now, the meta, in my opinion, like something that really can't be stopped, is using a team with, where is he? This Dwight. So Dwight, a new threat. I'm not really looking at his rush. We're looking at his leadership skill. All tough teammates get 40% attack and plus 36 crit. Using him as a lead, and then grabbing yourself a handy dandy Priya. She has a high attack. Right now I have mine with crit mods, but I'm actually going to make a video after I upgrade her weapon to a 5-star weapon, and when I weapon swap on this rampage weapon that is very close to being perfect but isn't, but I don't care. That 2%, I can give that up because I have a double attack weapon, not the good double attack weapon that's 175% attack, but 150% is enough with rampage. So if you have 2 Priyas with 2 of these weapons, Dwight lead, you're going to do very, very well. In my opinion, at least. Oh yeah, there is a 4-star blue Connor. I used to have him, actually, that had lightning reflexes. Yeah, Yeah, I do like that Marlon and Rosie has different gear because it won't be as much of a problem with upgrading because it takes a different type of gear entirely. On the note of that gear issue, I am actually very disappointed with Abel. Like, I know that they made a statement about him how, for some reason, as the only League Season store toon that doesn't need baseball caps and leather jackets, he needs normal items, so normal blue items. And like, we're going to take a look here. So I have 25 magazine bandoliers, but I'm saving those for Mercer eventually. 43 weapon tripods, still trying to save those for Mercer. But I have 52 baseball caps and 33 Letterman jackets that I've been saving for League Store toons. And now it's kind of just annoying because it's like, I have these, but I can't upgrade Abel, and I don't really want to, other than for level up points. I think the cards restart when you there, so restart your way to 100k. Okay, yeah. So when you go to the WOC region, these mission things end up restart. Sorry, not those missions. Well, yeah, those missions too. But the missions restart for you. I am going to screenshot my stuff before going, and I'm going to see if they can transfer me over, type of thing. Well, maybe not actually, because I might... no, I will, because I'm going to need quite a few of these dog paw pins in order to get the leashes to actually upgrade Marlin and Rosie. So I wish that they would give us a breakdown on how many leashes are needed per tier up, because like I at least want to try and get them to tier 3, I think. Tier 4 I think will be too much, but I know in some cases they give us extra things that we don't need. An example of that is, where are the flags? Is it the... yeah. So the green flags, I remember for the milestones, they gave us 10, and then upon completing the milestones, you got an additional flag, or kite. So now I have 11 for 10 kites. And the one left over just makes no sense to me. Like, they should have balanced it out, and I don't know. I don't work for the company, so I'm not exactly sure why they made it 11 for 10. Who knows, maybe we'll get another green dual specialist toon eventually. Let's see, behind Mercer, he could be nasty. Yep, I agree with that. The RNG, when the offense depends on getting fast rushes. So, I like the idea of a Mercer lead, and I do think Marlon and Rosie could fit behind it. Like, everyone that I've seen has been really trashing this character without actually having used the character. The first thing people go to look at is the rush. 300% damage is very low. But, recovering from all penalties, 50% of their max HP regained, that's not bad. And, like, the only issue, again, is trauma, but the trauma character that is very relevant right now is Angel. So let me bring up Angel. Angel. Yeah, right, trauma, 3,000 trauma, which can stack, but she, she's not really used on attack, she's used on defense. I think Jefeng has also trauma. Yeah, she has a bit of trauma. 800 trauma. But at that means that he's actually recovering from something. So it's probably bleed. So if you have a bleed resist mod on him, well, then Bob's your uncle in a way, because it's probably not going to affect him very much, right? Because what is he really going to be recovering from? So I'm not sure. I don't think Jefeng with trauma is going to be an issue for Marlon and Rosie. If people use a bleed team on attack, you can use other characters in order to help supplement that. I'm just gonna auto throw a roadmap as I continue talking, guys, and go through some of your questions and stuff. When I use my Marlon and Rosie, I'm gonna feel very sure to attack a team with Arab and Priya S-Class. Yeah, so this is something I definitely want to try out. As I mentioned before, it'll be interesting because I think he is a cheap version of Payback, but with no threshold. So if you have a fast rushing defensive team that's mainly an offensive team on defense, Marlon and Rosie has S-Class stats. They have the ability to attack the enemy before they actually rush. Well, technically as they're rushing. As long as he's not stunned, he's going to apply a basic attack back and potentially a 35% chance to do a double attack and the second attack with 200% more damage. I would also be curious because GBZ said earlier about putting stun on him. I don't know what will happen if he ends up stunning the enemy on his lightning reflexes. Would that technically stop the enemy's rush? There's just a lot of questions I have about this toon because, like, again, if it's an Arab and Marlin and Rosie kills that toon, will the toon in front of Marlin and Rosie also not be affected, or will they already receive the damage? I'm also curious to see how it'll work against toons like Priya or James that do multi-attacks on their basic rush, or say it's a double attack weapon but on a rush. Like, the amount of damage, the amount of potential damage that could be given back, in my opinion, is huge. And I think a lot of people have written him off before actually thinking and talking about him and kind of weighing in how he could be used. Like, for me, if I can get him before WOC starts, I'm definitely going to be doing some testing because I think he has a lot of potential. A lot of potential that others might not see, but I will use that and leverage it myself because, I don't really believe that there are any bad toons in the game, just ones that have to be used in very, very specific circumstances. Let's see. Louie isn't... Oh, I missed that. Oh my gosh. Louie isn't bad. 2 is good, slow, and slow is good, yeah. I think stun would be good because of the specialist skill. Again, it depends on how that specialist skill plays out. No, I haven't transferred to WOC already. As a faction, we decided we were going to transfer after the weekend of faction raid, but when it was changed to solo raid, it just seemed like too much of a bother to try and transfer over and have, change of plans last minute for everyone to move over as well. So may as well hang out. Getting the 6K in the normal version, then moving and claiming them again. Oh, I gotcha. But I'm trying to finish, just in the top 50 area to get my 25,000 tokens. And with those, I think I should have enough to make a 5-star weapon. Hey man on the moon, how's it going? Do I think the new WOC S-Class toon is going to be Clementine or AJ? I'm not sure. That's a really good question, actually. I haven't really made a prediction on who the new toon will be. I recently saw the restructure of rewards for WOC, and, I feel mixed about it. I do like that I can grind in order to get that S-Class toon, but at the same time, I feel kind of bad for, like, the top factions who, they're working towards that S-Class toon that's supposed to be limited edition, but not only can other players grind for it, and you know what, power to players who can grind for it. My prediction is, maybe another 90 players will be able to get the toon by grinding out 500,000 that are not in the top 3 factions. But I'm also thinking, like, they're putting the toon up for sale as well, and like, obviously the toon's going to have to be good enough that people will want to buy it, or they're just short of getting it, so they might be, 1,000 cards short. And if it's really limited edition to this WOC, well, people will probably spend that in order to have this toon that most other people won't have. Marcos, I have 6K dog paw pins, and I want to get more for claiming Marlin and Rosie. Yep. Because both can be a melee leader. Yep, one of them at least. You can buy 5K in the shop. Yep. Could be Clementine in the WC region, but I will wait until they put something up. It's a shame. In main reason we're not allowed to get Clementine. We don't know if it's Clementine yet, so we'll have to see. Potentially. I think you'd end up with like 8,000 S-Class items. So you might have to score like in the top, what is it? I can't remember the new brackets, but I think you need to get at least 2,000 S-Class items by rank reward. But I could be wrong. It depends on how many cards it costs for the toon. Yeah, similar to Green Lily, except I was able to get Green Lily later on. Yes, lightning reflexes happens before the opponent does their damage, but the idea here is that, like, what happens if we end up stunning the enemy? So if Marlon and Rosie had stun on them, would they actually negate the opponent's attack or not? Because technically it's not killing the enemy, and I believe the wording on the combat reference guide on the forum says it's only upon you killing the enemy, and we've never had a green lightning reflex toon. We've had the blue 4-star Connor and the yellow 5-star Eugene. So I think it's going to be an interesting test subject, really. Can Marlin and Rosie work behind S-Class Rolito? I can't see why not. It would be a better damage dealing toon than James, in my opinion, that can also apply bleed, only because it would be able to stop some of the fast rushing teams. I think it's a really unique combination of abilities on this toon, and I'm very intrigued about the lightning reflexes, because I haven't used many toons with it, of course. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this toon actually functions. Yeah, I think I'm going to try and get him before WOC, and I'm going to do some test runs, because if he's able to kill Aravs on defense, well, that also makes my job a whole lot easier. I could still, this is actually a really interesting idea. And I'm sorry, I know I keep talking about it, but I'm trying to work it out in my head right now about if it's functional. Yeah, it has a similar collection style to Pete, except I would say the cards are a lot easier to come by. I still don't have my Pete, but I'm fairly confident I'm going to get my Marlon and Rosie. WOC's next weekend, so I doubt that I'll have him before then, but I'm going to see where I can pick up some of his cards. If it's killed by Bide, okay, Bide is not a rush, so that's a bit different, and I get what you're saying. So if if L ends up rushing Marlon and Rosie, can he trigger Bide? I would say he could, but the order of operation for that's a very interesting question. So we're saying that if L rushes Marlon and Rosie, and Marlon and Rosie then gets their basic attack back, would the Bide end up killing him before he can do a second attack if a better chance of doing a second attack with 200% damage would be triggered? In my head, I would say the Bide triggers immediately, because as soon as you reach that threshold of 2,000 damage, it's automatically released, and that's even if a confused toon on the same team attacks L. She still releases Bide, which I think is ridiculous, but that's besides the point. Yeah, we have a lot of interesting questions here, and I like it. It's making me think about this new toon a lot, and I think that there's a lot of potential with it. There's a lot of testing to do, and I kind of like that, to be honest, when I'm able to try things out and figure out a use for a character that other people don't see value in. Let me see. Yeah, we can get the S-Class instantly. And yes, a good save on gear as well, as mentioned before, because it uses the dog leashes instead of using normal gear, and I'm really happy with that, because I am low on GPSs, I'm low on canteens, I'm low on every single type of gear, really. The other day I had to coin back some lab coats so that I could tier up my Arav. And on the note of Arav, he is nearly ready. I need one more Lilith, in order to get him to a point where I can actually use him. Because I have 2 in storage that I'm kind of just holding on to in case 100 Mercer cards comes up somewhere, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And it's kind of just a waiting game on that. Okay, so this Louie now. Hey, Invisinerd, welcome to the chat. I'm now going to talk about this Louie that, well, Scopely, as you know, made that error where the cards listed, let's go to his wheel. So in this area, it actually showed a breakdown of the collection items, except the top collection item was 1 million cards, which was only supposed to be 1,000 cards. And you had 0.7%, 0.7%, 0.6%, 0.4%, all these different percentages. And a lot of people pulled on this character, me included. just because, you had a chance of getting, well, realistically, the S-Class toon. But the changes made, obviously, reduced the amount of cards by 1,000-fold. And I understand why they did it, because if we ever have a collection again, like where you can change over one S-Class item for another, the people who have 1,000,000 of these cards would be able to get an insane amount of S-Class items of another character. But now moving on to kind of the toon himself. Oh, I'm just going to read some questions first. I'm still 1,000 cards away from Pete. You need 11k to get Pete. I think Scopely needs to update the game, like a wheel revamp would be nice. S-Class Tower for reviewing all S-Classes, yes. I think that would be a lot more useful, because it would be more interesting to, to kind of see the toons instead of having to go all the way back into the museum and then kind of scrolling through and coming up with it. And it's not very useful in my opinion. Like, if they opened up more of the map here and even changed over one of the buildings, like we had the mod building added in, so why not add in an additional like S-Class tower, because right here we can't see the S-Class toons unless they're on promo, and we can see the 5-star, then we can see the 6-star, but then we still can't see the S-Class from this area. Yes, we all ended up getting a Louie for free and 500 cards because of this issue, and you know what, that's probably the best compensation we've gotten as a player base in ever, like just ever. 8k to get Pete, yep. I'm gonna use a dupe 6-star eventually, but if I end up getting a Louie now, I don't really want to. Like, I don't really have a lot of dupe 6-stars. There are some 6-stars that I definitely don't use, but it's kind of sad to get rid of them at points, because it's like I should get rid of one of my Lees. I definitely don't need two. But I remember that event, they made the mistake where when you maxed out your 5-star, you could exchange it over for a 6-star, but you still kept your 5-star. So then you ended up with 2 Lees, which was kind of interesting, but I can't complain about that. I really enjoyed having 2 Lees at the time, actually. Going back to this toon. I am not playing on a computer. No, I am playing on my phone, but I'm watching this live stream from my computer just so I can kind of see what's going on. So this toon, Louie, the Aftermath. 45 AP is a 5-star, 500% damage, up to 2 enemies, and then those enemies get 60% slow, and all the other enemies get 30% slow for 3 turns. Now, I do like the slow lasts for a few turns. Like, if it was just the 1 turn thing, like what the Yellow Governor did, I don't think he would be as effective. Retribution 2, this is interesting as a 5-star having this. Usually 5-stars have Retribution 1, which would be giving just 25% max AP to all toons that are surviving. But this also makes the team susceptible to exhaustion very quickly. As a 6-star, he retains Retribution 2. As a 5-star, he should have had Retribution 1, but his rush goes up to 76 AP, 700% damage, which is pretty high for a 6-star toon. 2 enemies, 90% slow, and all other enemies get 50% slow for 3 turns. I was explaining slow the other day on the forums, but to kind of give an overview for it, it doesn't change the amount of AP you currently have. It only makes it so the amount of AP that you need increases, if that makes sense. So if he used slow on a character that has that's at 70 AP out of their total 76 AP, in order to find out like how much AP they will need after he rushes on them, if they apply the 90% slow, it would be taking 76 times 1.9, because that'll be an additional 90%, and I think that equals like 144 or 145 AP is what I said. So he would have 70 per 145 AP. So looking at percentages, you would need like a Dr. Stevens to give that character 60% AP for them to rush that next turn, because conventionally, like with weapons, a huge bonus to AP on attack with a leader skill of a huge bonus, that's an additional 40 AP, so then it would be 70 plus 40, 110 AP out of 145, but I'm going to do a video on slow later just to kind of explain it a bit better, because I know it's difficult to kind of visualize how this functions without seeing it in practice. His active skill I'm not a huge fan of. This 100% AP to self and recovering from crosshairs with one other teammate recovering from crosshairs. The 100% AP, that's why Dr. Stevens dies. Exhaustion is very easy, exhaust is very easy to apply to him. So he definitely needs an exhaust or a maim resist mod. Crosshairs from himself and one other toon. It just doesn't seem enough. It should be crosshairs from everyone, in my opinion, as a 6-star. Even going over to him as an S-class here, we see that his active skill, it's still only one other teammate recovers from crosshairs. So if it was from all teammates, then that would be a good counter to Wangfa, for instance, who applies crosshairs to all enemies for the first 4 turns or something like that. As an S-class, 900% damage, so that sticks out, but he's heavy on the defensive stat and about even with attack and HP. It still has the same rush as the 6-star, which they've been doing that lately. With Frost, they did that as well, where his rush and his active skill and everything about him stayed the same as his 6-star in S-class, so it's interesting. Doesn't have a bound weapon as a yellow toon. This could be decent, say, against Priya or something like that, but at the same time, I don't find him to be that great. I just think that there are too many counters for him at the moment. We just had Angel come out to counter Dr. Stevens, what's his name, Cameron Scar, Arav, and this character, well, Angel's kind of already the counter to him. So I would find it difficult to use him, to be honest. I'm gonna eventually get him because I have a 5-star version, so I'm a third of the way there with the 500 items as well. Yes, I play on iPhone. I used that dupe Lee as fodder ages ago. I used a dupe Louie as fodder ages ago. So I had 2 Louies. I remember I saw something where Louie was going to become a 6-star soon. So I ended up getting her from, I can't remember, I might have ascended for her. And I knew that she was coming soon. And just as I maxed her out, she became available to, there was an event actually going on where you could acquire one. So I ended up 6-starring my one at the time, and then I ended up also getting the free one from the event. And she was really good at the time. Neutralizer was great, rush 300% damage and impair. The attack up and defense up was really useful, and an active focus skill. She was one of my favorite toons before. I just found her to be really useful on attack because of that attack buff. And the impair ability as well. So yeah, that's a bit of a throwback. An S-class Lee for defense or support, that would be pretty cool to have eventually. Useless in defense? Why is Frost useless in defense? Just curious. Oh, was Olivia that way too? See, I don't know if these are errors or something that's on purpose, because it's in most cases, it's not the case where the 5-star gets the 6-star ability. But where are you, Olivia? Olivia, you have to be around this area here, I think. Okay. Apparently I'm blind. I know she's somewhere here, but I'll take your word for it anyway. I think it's curious, when they end up doing things like that. Because look, Douglas, Guardian 2. Let's pick someone else who has a skill like that. Oh, here's Olivia. Guardian 2. I don't know, that just seems interesting to me because it's this is the governor I was talking about before. This is the character that I don't really like because it's 30% slow for 1 turn. He regains AP consistently, but he's also very susceptible to exhaust. And if you have him on an auto attack team and you have a commander, he will rush and then be command rushed in the same turn, so then you lose slow for the turn after, which is kind of annoying. Also, we never get this new specialist skills getting Mark 2. We only got Guardian 2. Yeah, we only got Guardian 2, Retribution 2, Collateral Damage 2. Let's see, are there any other versions of the 2? Oh, there's the Collateral 2, Retribution 2. Disarming 2 would be something interesting. Lacerator 2 would also be very interesting, but also it would create some very strong payback teams. No, sorry, not payback. I just followed payback, but it would create some very strong bleed teams, sorry. In case you're wondering, this combat mechanics list is, if you go to edit a team and you go to traits, it has some useful information. So if you're ever curious about what something does, you can kind of scroll through this and it gives you like a Cole's Note version of what certain abilities do and what they are. It is missing some. Like, I don't think I saw infection in here, for example. Or I don't think I saw trauma either. So it's not up to date at the moment, which is a little annoying, but it has some interesting pieces here, especially if you're a new player. It's a good place to check, and if you need a reminder on what different specialist skills do, it's really useful. I use it sometimes too. Okay, just gonna auto this again as I take a look. His active is meant to be anti-Raoul. Okay, I can see that, but still, like, as an S-Class toon, I would expect his 6-star, if it does himself and one other, like, at least as an S-Class, do 3 toons, like, if not 4. It's just usually as an S-Class toon, we're expecting an upgrade in their active skill, specialist skill, rush, weapon, stats, you name it. And yes, that Louie was amazing for her time. She was one of my favorite toons that I think I've ever had. And that's why I still have one of her. I did fodder the other one because I needed, a cheap Lilith. Let's see. They changed Frost active to cooldown 1. All he does is his active now. Huh. I'm gonna go take a look at that actually. Yes, Louie is an upgrade from the Governor, I use him in draft arenas sometimes, just he's good for controlling the enemy, but otherwise I'm not a huge fan. Let's see this Frost now. Here we go. I see turn 2 here. Cooldown 1 turn. Like, I would just never upgrade his active skill, to be honest. I don't think 50% bonus HP is worth it. Yeah, this is one active skill, another active skill actually, that I would leave. Olivia's good, but she is slow, and for her to use her, you need a Dr. Stevens. I don't know. I don't think Olivia's that bad of a toon, to be honest. Like, she's not the fastest toon by any means, but as a 6-star, she comes with an absolute defense weapon, so she sometimes just doesn't take damage from characters with multi-attack rushes or from basic attacks, so she's not taking damage from Priya or James, for example. I'm trying to think about some other toons that do basic attacks as their rush, but point is, she's pretty tanky. Guardian ability, in my opinion, is really useful. It helps slow down attacks because you can't really get around these shields very often unless you have a rush like Jiefang's, who does indirect damage through bleed and doesn't actually have to apply damage to the toon to apply the bleed. Her rush is really slow. Yeah, her rush is very slow. I don't count on it really ever going off. The active skill is pretty useful because it's 55% slow, which is significant, and it's for 3 turns. So that is her selling factor to me. Her active skill, specialist skill, and weapon. Her rush is too slow for me, but it's very effective when it does go off. Going over here to auto this one again. Don't give them ideas. I will give them tons of ideas that they won't take. Hey, Lockdown. Welcome to the chat. I'm going to talk again, I guess, about Marlin and Rosie. I talked about him earlier, but I think it is a cheap version of Payback, because lightning reflexes, as long as the toon is not stunned, they will perform their basic attack back at the enemy before actually sustaining any damage. So if I put him on attack in a line against a turn 1 rushing defensive team that uses a Rov, if I force a Rov to attack that line, then my Marlin and Rosie has a chance to do a basic attack back, but also has a 35% chance of performing a second attack with 200% damage to that enemy. Now, earlier in the chat, we also talked about how it's a little confusing as to what will occur first. Say if, where's an example? I need a payback or a bide toon. So say, no, he's not a good example because he doesn't apply damage, but I think L does. Or Ryan, yeah. So let's say Ryan rushes my Marlin and Rosie. Marlin and Rosie gets the first attack back from lightning reflexes, assuming they're not stunned. If they end up triggering Bide, will Bide kill Marlin and Rosie, or have the potential to kill them before they can use, say, their second basic attack. And I think it would happen just because as soon as they reach 2,000, it's automatically released as 3,000 flat damage. So it's just, it's really interesting to me. I think there are a lot of ways to utilize Marlin and Rosie, even on defense, for example, because again, if I don't have a payback toon that I can run on defense, as long as they're not stunned, they're going to apply damage back. They're going to be very effective against toons that do multi-attack rushes. It has me curious again about double attack weapons on blue toons. So like if my Mr. Jones were to rush Marlin and Rosie with a double attack weapon, would lightning reflexes occur after each attack, including the double attack? And if so, like how often, like this 35% chance to make a second attack with 200% attack, I think there's a good chance that Marlin and Rosie could end up killing the attacker, because we're assuming characters like a Rov or toons that do basic attacks as their rushes. So I think this toon definitely has a use. I don't like the rush, but the active skill is useful, especially in Onslaught, and I like that they brought back this specialist skill a lot. Let's see, what else are we seeing here? He upgraded his active skill already. Yeah, that's the tough part. You gotta really watch with different characters what you end up doing with them right away. Like, especially with a human shield. Like I almost never upgrade active skills. The one human shield that I would say upgrading the active skill is alright would be this Magna, because her active skill, this attack up to all teammates, is really useful. I think she's also a great Onslaught toon. Just, that plus 40% attack would help you not rush the enemy, so you can score more points. When I make a Onslaught team, I think about how an active skill can help my team with winning, because I don't want to use a rush. I want to try and gain as many points as I can. Her having a stun weapon as well is very useful. So just different toons have different uses. Like Lee, this active skill I probably wouldn't upgrade because, it's stun 2 enemies for 1 turn. It's turn 2. I don't want him to really use it if I were to throw him on defense. On attack, it could have some use, but it's not my cup of tea. Who will win WOC? Now, that is a loaded question. You know what? We're actually going to jump over there right now. I haven't transferred my main account over yet. I'm going to do that after this weekend. But let's take a look at what's going on here. Let's see, actually, the leaderboard. Yep, we'll go to factions and kind of see what's going on here. I can think of a cool new specialist skill. Could be Deconstruct, which does apply to the enemy. Oh, no mods for 2 turns. That would be interesting. That would be very interesting. Scorched Earth. Okay, so this is Damn Pandas, and I'm not sure who they merged with. I think I used to know, and I probably could look it up, but I will save that for later. Yep, VV is gonna be there. Evil Intentions, iZombies, Walkers picked up some people. I'm not sure who this is. Gonna guess that they're a new player for Walkers. Hey Sly. Yep, Yeah, so this is the faction that, oh, hey, Amir. This was the faction that was in my region before. And, well, obviously now they're here. So good luck to them. So Sicarios and Freak Show merged. The one Russian faction. Oh, temporary crafting. I like this. Nice use, guys. The Infected, Nightmare. And is that the Herd one? I can't remember who has the funky name. It's either Herd or Habersham. I want to say it's Herd. Biohazard, Kelly Gang. The Misfits. I think this is just people who don't have a home for WOC. They're going there. Rehab. Some of these names I don't recognize. I do recognize this name. Exiled Tigers, yep. Get to the Chopper, recognize that. Outcast, them as well. Hell's Army, I'm not sure if it's the same one I'm thinking of. Zed Kingdom, RTS Creators, so I'm chilling in here right now. We have Invisinerd, Fox. I'm name against TOS, I can't make my name Link. Man on the Moon, Chantal Hawk, Lockdown. So I'm going to have to leave this before Monday when I transfer over. And, oh, a retirement home. Interesting. Yep, so just some factions and stuff there. Oh, what's this? Oh, the football event. I don't even know if I want to call it an event. I don't like the tokens, and I don't like your chances. You have a 1% chance at these limited time boxes, which have quite good gear, but the chances of you getting it is just so low that I don't think it's worth the time or the energy right now. I'm gonna jump back to Blount. Okay, reading through. Do you think free-to-play will realistically be able to get Marlin and Rosie? Yes, I do. As long as you kind of balance out your resources, I think you have a fair chance. Like, when we take a look at how much you actually need, when I max out my raids, I'm going to have 6,000 already. You only need 25,000, so 25,000 divided by 6,000, well, that's just over 4 events, where 6,000 is the maximum amount. And you have all of February, so actually 31 days left. So you have a pretty good chance, in my opinion, because the main issue you're going to have is getting these leashes in order to upgrade, because the maximum amount is 100,000, which, well, is quite a bit more, obviously. He has a decent active moon, like the Lee Shield, but I still wouldn't upgrade it. I just feel like him, using himself like as a shield instead of using his active is more effective and valuable. But again, that's just how I see it. Let's see, S15 plus, that means it's a good team for me to hit because my maximum is S14. So let's try to hit it. This is my main attack team. I almost want to show you this team now just because I have that rampage weapon, but I want to get it on Priya before I really do a showcasing. Yes. Okay, so this team, Emperor on attack. Splash damage, that's interesting to have on Kapoor. So I usually start on Pete because he usually doesn't have a stun weapon. Like, exhaust really doesn't affect me much. I am going to taunt these enemies. So I'm lucky I got James in there as well, but it cuts attack down. I'm going to attack here. I don't feel like I need to use this rush yet. I can save it for this turn, which means I can also use my confuse before I defense down. I'm going to rush on Rolito. Okay, that was actually quite a bit of damage there. I'm going to rush on Pete. It's going to end up killing Kapoor. I'm going to rush here. Attack. And match is over. I don't think I'll get my Marlin and Rosie up to tier 4. So see right here anyway, raid points 39. I think that's mainly because of the difference between my team grade. Like, I know this says S11++, but my max team grade is S14. So this is the same. I don't want to hit it. If it's the same, I don't know what that one is. S14 plus, too similar. I'm trying to look for, okay, sorry, I should have taken a look at that, but I'm trying to look for a team that has a significantly higher grade or drop defense like that, because it's just some easy points I can grab. Obviously, that person has a decent max team grade because I'm getting 35 raid trophies from them, so I know I can go back and hit that Lilith if it comes up again. The problem of Marlin and Rosie are when you're using active skill and active skill 2, maybe you're gonna lose Marlin and Rosie in the attack. You could, but at the same time, you don't need to mod them for attack as much, right? Because if they're using that active skill and like you have a good enough defense and HP set on them, well, that double attack that comes up will, in my opinion, give you an advantage. Here's a good team to hit. S16++. I see a Pete lead. Going to use an energy here. 5500. Impair, so that's a that's a swapped weapon. Absolute defense. Gonna cut that attack down. That team player 4th skill, that's something I want to get on a couple of my characters, actually. I think it'll be useful. I'm not sure why Erica is on that defensive team. I don't think it's as effective as it could be. I could attack with Priya here, but I'm going to let him use his active skill just because I don't want to end up stunned. So he's going to heal this turn, which is alright. I'm going to rush on Priya and do adjacent damage to Pete as well as Henyan, so that trade advantage will be applied because it's almost like a basic attack done to them. I will rush on Pete. I might get stunned, I might not. I didn't get stunned, which is good. That didn't hit, but I'm going to attack down these enemies by using coal. Here, I'm going to confuse as well as give myself an attack boost. Attack. I think that's going to bleed him out. And I'm just going to auto at the end of that on that Wangfa. They merged with We Are One. Gotcha, thank you. I know that there are a number of mergers, just people don't really talk about them. Oh, look, 43 raid trophies, so that's useful to me. S14, that's the same as what I have. Yes, Fox is alive, and he is back. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes about WOC. I don't think he has an account qualified, but I'm not exactly sure either. I'll have to ask him. By the time or the energy, you mean it's not worth the money. Okay, yep, that's one way of looking at it. S16++ team. Let's take a look. Herschel on it, that's interesting here. Okay, so I at least cut James's attack, and that's good enough for me. Sometimes even if I don't get the stun, it's just about making sure that, like, that 6,740 attack is quite high. But by cutting it in half, it's only like 3,850. So it's around Pete's attack. So that to me is really important. Let's see. I'm going to take that toon out. Pete is going to use his active skill as well. Kapoor is going to use his active skill this turn. Oh, I get the stun. No, I won't. Going to confuse James just so that if he does end up attacking, he has a 50% chance of attacking his own team. Going to rush here. Going to attack James. Not going to gain any AP off of it. Yep, so this should be just about done. James attacking, obviously, the damage is quite high. But match over. Do daily SR can't have emotions showing like that. Yeah, emotions. I really don't even touch daily SR anymore unless there's something decent up here. It's just, I don't know. I get kind of bored with it now. It used to be fun, and now it's more of a hassle than anything. So I'm just gonna do some more raids as I go along for now. Marlon and Rosie, I like him. I'm going to probably make another video once I get him so that I can show you guys his uses and also to do a lot of testing, because honestly I don't think there's enough information on him to know how he's going to interact with other abilities in the game. I wouldn't say he only protects himself. I think he can protect your team. Yeah, Moon. You build an S17 team and your raid trophies went down the drain. Oi. Yeah, like I keep my team grade low so that when I match someone in raids, the team grade difference is higher, which means I get more raid trophies from it. So for me, I can put in less work and effort in order to get the same results. So like an S15 plus, let's see, going to cut here, stun, so it's always good to check. And going to Daze Pete, so then he can't use his healing. Oh, I stunned him as well. I want to see if I can take out Negan. My Priya got stunned here. I'll take out Zack because of his rush, which can recover from everything. It ended up stunning me. I want to save my rush here. Okay, so there's a focus now. So that means she's going to go off this next turn, actually, now that I think about it. The only way to stop that is to make sure that Dale rushes. So now Dale's going to rush. The downside is he is going to apply a big defense down to me, but it also means Priya's not rushing this turn. So now I can apply some control, and then I can rush here. So that's something that I do a lot, actually, in a match. So against command toons, if I don't want them to command, I attack them to make sure that they rush. Unless it's Xander, then I need to be careful with that because Xander gives 100% AP to another toon. Unless those toons are impaired, of course. But based on AP gains, he will give that 100% AP to the toon that has the most amount of AP, which you can manipulate into being a toon that is not very useful. S13 plus is too low. Oh, I didn't mean to set that as my friendly D, but that's fine. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Captain Walker Slayer. Sorry you didn't make it into WOC, but it's going to be an interesting ride, I'm sure. Yeah, playing around with teams. I know I'm going to end up doing that, and I'm kind of worried about when I end up putting my Arav in a team. I don't want to make my team grade too high. I've been trying my best to keep it low, and I'm kind of fearful of making it way too high. I'm trying really hard to keep it low so that I can keep up with, not having to use as many resources, and I'm not sure why that targeted Kapoor there. Focused, defense down, rushing here, and then autoing the end. Let's see. Yeah, mistakes were made. Mistakes were made. It happens. Don't know how well that team's gonna be put together. S13 plus. Yeah, you see, like, I kind of just skip through some of these unless I recognize a team for giving me a lot of trophies. I just kind of skip over them. Drop defense. I think this one only gives me 29 trophies, though, so if I'm right, I'm going to have to skip these Kenny leads that I come across. Yeah, 29 trophies, so I want to skip it whenever I come across a Kenny like that. S14, about the same as mine. S13 plus plus. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to ask me right now. Like, I'm a pretty open book with things. I've talked about both Marlin and Rosie and the new Louie character. I'm not sure who they're going to end up dropping for WOC as the S-Class character, but I'll be very intrigued to know. Let's see, in arenas, I had an okay week in arenas, 3rd in old school, 3rd in draft, 10th in classic, trait mania, I'm a mess in it. Damage squad, I'm probably lower than that now, let's see. So I'm in 11th, and I'm not going to go again. Like, it's a difference of 2,400 points. I actually had a defend here, which was interesting. Next one, not so much. But most people skip me. My team grade's low, so I don't give as much trophies out as well. I have 6 tickets, so hopefully, I'll be able to score a few coins in this. I'm not thinking about like 1,000 or anything. I'm thinking of like 100 extra coins, because that's going to help me for WOC when it comes around. Oh, congrats! A healing stun. I'm working on one of those eventually. Eventually is always the key there, but yeah. I'm definitely trying to get a healing stun, defensive healing stun at that, for my Diego or my Glenn, just because they need all the help they can get, assuming I still want to keep on using them. Like, this main attack team of mine has been very consistent for me, and I've been very happy with how it's worked. I really have no complaints about it. I'm happy with it. This team here, it's kind of a fun team to use. It's not very, like, typical. It's not what you'd really expect from a team, just because, like, Mr. Jones is free to play, Dale is in the War Wheel, Princess was free to play, Douglas was free to play, Priya, you could grind for her. So this team's a very basic team, but I find it to be very effective. I like Mr. Jones' turn 1 control with his confounding ability. Douglas applies a nice guardian shield for me. Princess has a nice active skill that normalizes and taunts. Dale has focus, defense down, 100% heal reduction, impair, command, and Priya's a huge damage dealer, so lots going on there. Defense or with heal stun, and ransack is the goal. Nice. Yeah. I like ransack because by being able to steal an opponent's ability can be super useful, especially if they use an attack buff, defense buff, you name it. Let's see. That's kind of an idea I have for an anti-rampage team. My idea is basically confuse them and hope that they attack themselves. But running a Mercer lead will also help eventually when I get him as an S-Class. I'm about 100 cards away from his S-Class version, so hoping something comes out that will let me get those. Mr. Jones, I would say, was. A lot of people were able to get him because of that glitch, and some people were able to get him just from playing normally, to be honest. I think he's a very useful toon to use. There are some other characters, of course, that you could sub in there instead. Like, just having some control, really. Like, I would not say Mercer is a free-to-play character by any means. But I was even contemplating before running... where is she? I was thinking about running even a 5-star Priya and getting her to rush on turn 1 against the Rampage toons so that they would attack themselves. I didn't end up having to try that because of Mr. Jones, but it's really interesting. Really, 70% of players? I know a lot of players who did get him, so I guess it's just about what circles you run in and who you talk to. But yeah, I like Princess S-Class. Yes, Princess S-Class is amazing. One of my faction mates has her, and she hits incredibly hard, has an incredible active skill. Stealing Elusive would be interesting. Yeah, that would be very interesting to have. It would be interesting to know if it's a random ability that it steals, or if there's an algorithm to it. So, like, if one ability is considered higher priority than another, for example. You're excited to steal. I'll take a screenshot of that, guys. Moon likes to steal things. I'm kidding, of course, but, I think that's a pretty interesting weapon as well. I really do need to do a chat about the different types of weapons that you can craft. I actually have, I'd actually be really excited idea to run Priya with a double attack weapon and Rampage. I actually was able to use my Mr. Jones the other day with this double attack weapon on SR, and he ended up attacking 18 times with it, with the Rampage. So it was pretty cool because so on the first attack, Rampage occurred, so it hit 2 more targets, so that's 3. The double attack also crit hit, which I think is interesting. I need to read more about that, because if it's making a second attack with 150% attack, so that's like multiplying my attack stat by 1.5. On a critical hit, which had to occur, is that an additional 1.5, or is that already encompassed in the 1.5 multiple with the double attack weapon? So that's a question I would like to be answered, to be honest, because he ended up attacking 6 times on his rush with the double attack, and then an additional 2 times on each of those because the rampage ability. So he had 18 attacks on the enemy, which is a huge amount of damage, to be honest. So I'm excited to upgrade my Priya's weapon, so that it will be a 5-star weapon, and then swapping on that rampage weapon. So where is Priya's bazooka? Here. So like to upgrade it to a 5-star. See, I have 38,000 tokens. I'm hoping to get 25,000 more from this event. I know it's only 38% attack, but in my eyes, that's good enough. Like, I'm losing that 2% attack, but I'm gaining something a lot more. And I haven't decided what I want to put on her as the 4th slot yet. With the Daze weapon, I don't think I'll add on Rampage, because with Daze, I feel like it's more of a control rather than a heavy attacking weapon. So I want to keep the Daze, of course, so I'll just be swapping on this heavy attack weapon onto her and seeing how she does. Like, I know that Rampage can trigger other abilities, AP, like it can add more AP to the enemy, but it won't matter if the enemy's dead, for example. Yes, because of the gate. Is it viable to run to lacerators? Yes. In my opinion, bleed is a great option to use. A good way of looking at things right now is Rolito and Jefeng pair really well together, in my opinion. So if you have a Rolito and he was one of the first S-Class toons out of the gate, and you picked up Jefeng, I think that's a really good start to a bleed team. When we're taking a look at other characters, like Wangfa doesn't really fit in as much, although he is a bleeder. Jefeng and him don't really pair up well. I think that there are better options to use with him. Well, I'm glad, Diablo, that the team is working well. I know I'm a little behind on helping some people with teams. It's just been a busy week for me, and I'm trying to help as many people as I can, of course. For anyone that does need help, you can reach out to me online at Linkesus, Linkesus, with a period at the end. And if I forget, just poke me. I'm a human too. I have things going on, so it's difficult at times to, help out everyone. But I try to keep myself available for people. So yeah, if I forget, poke me. It's not being annoying, it's just a reminder. Wondering about Rick, being that he has a low attack as to not set off bide. Which Rick, sorry? Are you talking about the green lacerator Rick? Because you are right. His rush does not set off bide because I think it's like 940 maim damage or something like that. It's some weird number, I think, but you're right. He doesn't trigger it. He has a 75% heal reduction, I think, so toons can still be revived, but it's still pretty effective. And not needed then. Yes. More options is always better, in my opinion. Like, there's a bunch of toons that I have that I don't use on the regular, but I still like having the option. Like right now, Michelle, I'm bringing her back because of my Arav, and I'm gonna run Dale, maybe Harper too. Like, there's just some good options that I have. A better option would obviously be Dr. Stevens, but I don't have him. So, Secretary Gao as an S-Class toon will be really useful. As a 6-star, it's 30% AP to 2 teammates. As an S-Class, it's 60%. His active skill is right now broken, where it always gives to himself instead of the conventional method of the toons that have the most amount of AP. So when that's fixed, I think he will actually work really well on my Arav team because I don't have Doc Stevens. Yeah, we're not creators. We're not human. We're just the mafia. Woohoo. Yeah, there is So a bit of a joke is that some people on the forums accused us of being inside of a mafia. And I can assure you, we are not that cool. Well, at least I'm not. I'm not sure about my fellow creators, but no, we just have fun with it. Like I'm just a player in the end. I see myself as being a pretty average player at that. It's not like I have a bunch of amazing tunes or anything like that. I just kind of play to the best of my ability, and you guys have given me a nice platform that I can kind of share my knowledge, and I've really enjoyed it so far. To me, it's really exciting being able to help the community out. And I'm not saying everything I suggest is always right, but I do my best, and I hope that it's helped all of you guys, even a little bit. So whenever you guys send in your support, it's much appreciated, and I'm very thankful and grateful for it. So thank you everyone for all the support that you've given me, including just tuning in right now, watching my videos, spreading them, liking and subscribing, as GBZ said before. It's really amazing, and I'm very appreciative. So thank you for that. Yeah, Rick dies really fast. That doesn't surprise me. I can't remember if he's a Gen 1 or a Gen 2. Gen 1 or Gen 2. Oh my gosh, what do you call it? 6-star toon. But he does die quite fast. That's something that I know someone has mentioned to me before. Yeah, it is pretty funny. Being called part of the mafia or a mafia. A Rick family S-class. Yes, that'd be pretty cool. And I could see some people just wanting to pull for that just because, like, if you're a fan of a show, if you're a fan of a comics, like, why wouldn't you? There's some nostalgia to it and just memorable moments. Like, I know a lot of people, like the Telltale characters, of course, just, there's another pull, another reason to have them other than them just being characters in the game who have a nice design. So that would be really interesting to have in the future. Thanks, Moon. Yeah, like the stream if you can. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip that Mercer team. I wasn't really looking. I was looking at comment section. Like Rick, Laurie, Carl S-Class. Yeah, the game does sometimes forget the comic characters, but not everyone has read the comics as well. I've only read a handful myself, so whoops. And I am not paying attention right now, and I actually might lose this if I don't start paying attention. I think I am, actually, because James is about to rush on me, and that's what you get when you don't actually pay attention to what's going on in front of you. AKA, don't be me, guys. The only way that I could get away with this is if I'm able to stun him and the bleed doesn't kill me, but the bleed is about to kill me and he's about to bring people back. So, pay attention when you raid. Otherwise, you could end up just losing to a team that you shouldn't, but you do. And you know what? It's a learning experience all the time. You make mistakes and you get better. I'd rather make the mistakes now than in WOC next week. So for the people I will be seeing in WOC, I look forward to it. To the people that I won't, feel free to tune in to my channel. I'm going to be live streaming a lot of War, and I will be showing off a lot of teams that, I will be facing, obviously, because I will be warring with Twilight Princess. I'm really excited to play with my faction. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to have this opportunity. I know not everyone does have that opportunity, so it's going to be a fun ride. So I'm going to be signing off right now, so thank you everyone for watching and listening to my stream. I will be relabeling the title of this live stream. It was supposed to be labeled as New Characters, Marlin and Rosie, and just talking about them, but we covered Louie as well, and we went over different aspects of the game a bit, including weapons and stuff a little. So I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream, and this is Link, signing off.